All right, so now let's take a look at the second version here. What do we have here? We have a lot more objects, and the bullets, as you hit them, as you hit these spaceships, they disappear. So this version is better. I'm gonna cheat again and get a lot more bullets. This version is better because you're creating a lot more objects, and this is how usually it works. And what? If you want to build on it, use this version instead of the other version. So let's dive into the code and see what we have. All right. Okay. This is the first version. Let's open the second version, improved version, and see what we have here. Same stuff, same things. Now we have a little bit different. What do we have? We have bullets and we have enemy ships. All right. So I created another array of enemy ships. This will contain how many enemies do you have. The rest is the same. We have the canvas, we have the images, the background, we have the object. Now for the object, before, remember we used to say draw object 1, object 2, object 3, object 4. I'm creating object 1 is my spaceship, but the rest of it is actually I'm creating many objects. How many here do we have? 47. And you create the object with X and Y, and then the speed is 3. You add the object to the array. So this part is creating the object and adding it to the array. What about X and Y? Because we're adding multiple objects, if you don't change X and Y, they will either be stacked over each other, so you don't see them. So what do? We need to update X every time we're adding. Remember the width was 50 of X, so I'm adding 20 pixels between each object. So I'm adding 20, putting spaces between these objects, right? So I add 20 for the X, and if X is greater than the width of the width, I go to the next row to draw. So I move to the next row when I don't have more space to draw on the right. So if it is greater than 50, then I add to Y, and we start X again from 20. So all of this just to make that drawing into like a matrix. Multiple space enemies is like row by row, and then if we run out of space on one row, we go to the next one, right? So you can do something similar. Now I put 47. You can, depending on the size of the screen, you do some calculations and then determine how many do you have. Same stuff with the process down press key. We have the process the key again. But now here's the bullet. We talked about that. And here's the cheat code. All right. Notice in the previous one, I was drawing the bullets here. I took that code out. We're not drawing it here. We're doing all the drawing in the draw function. The game loop stays the same. I check is the bullet is alive. But now not only I check object 1, object 2, and object 3, I need to check every spaceship in here. Did I hit any spaceship, any enemy spaceship? And the way to do that, I mean, if you know better, you can do better, but I have an array of enemy object. So I check every enemy object that I have in the array. Did I hit it or not? How do I know if I hit it or not? If the enemy object is alive, right? Because it could have been hit and dead. Check for collision with that enemy object and then play the sound if I hit it. And if this is true, remember this function returns true or false. If it is true, I update the score and that enemy ship is dead and we make it false. All right? This is important to understand. So I have many space options, many bullets, and I have many enemies. I check for every bullet. Did I hit that object or not? If the enemy space is alive, I check the collision with that and that bullet, that space enemy object, and that bullet that I've selected so far here. And then if I hit it, I increase the score, and then I make that enemy dead. Now, again, as I said, some enemies, maybe you have a big, strong spaceship, and then you have to hit it 20 times to die. So you can actually keep track of that. Every time you hit it, did I, for example, live, and then you keep decrementing from live every time you hit it. And if you hit it 20 times, that means that enemy is dead. So you can build AI logic into your game here. All right, so that is what we're doing in the game loop. You're getting your frame. We talked about this. You check for every bullet. Did you have something? Did you hit a spaceship? And then what do? I move the spaceships to the right, and I draw the object, right? So again, animation, logic, and drawing, right? Here's my draw object. I draw the background. Object 1 I draw, but I need to have now arrays to draw the bullets, a loop to draw the enemies. So I draw the bullets if they're alive, and I draw the enemy if they are alive. There are techniques where you remove them out of the array. That means it's kind of a little bit tricky, but it's doable. You basically create a copy of the array, temporary array, and then you put them in there. And the last thing is that the score. I added one more function to this game, which is basically keep these objects, these enemy ships move down every 3 seconds. So I have a function called update Y for every enemy in the list. If it is alive, what do? We increase Y by 20. And here's my game loop. And here's a timer set interval that every 3 seconds, this one function is called, and then it moves this enemy little by little lower, little by little lower. I did not include the logic that if my spaceship got hit by one of those enemy ships, it dies, but it's easily done and you can do it yourself, okay? So that is the improved version of it. Now notice the same stuff that we've learned before and we've used in here. Notice the power of creating objects. If you didn't have to do these objects and arrays and creating the game like we used to do before, it becomes really, really long code and very cumbersome, all right? That's the end of this. I will put the link for this code on GitHub, so you can download this project from GitHub, all right? And thank you again, and I'll see you on the next series of videos.